Rise with India podcast on ET Now.
Good morning. This is the Daily Morning Update from ET Now and I'm Alex Matthew. Today is the 26th of August. In the top news, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman conducted a review last evening of the performance of public sector banks in the recent past. This was to see how they have fared during the pandemic. And in fact, the government maintains that public sector banks have turned profitable, fared well during the pandemic, and are meeting their capital requirements on their own. With public sector banks having turned profitable and improving on most parameters, they have been able to garner investor confidence and consequently raise money from the market, according to Debashish Panda, who is the Secretary of Department of Financial Services. That was his response to a question on whether the government would infuse capital into these banks. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, meanwhile, said that state-owned lenders have collectively performed well despite the pandemic. She also announced that she has asked state-run banks to step up lending and hold outreach programs or loan melas across the country from October in order to lend to desirable borrowers in order to give momentum to the stimulus package announced by the government. Sitharaman said that it was still too early to say that there is lack of credit demand in the economy. Delivery, which is an Indian logistics and supply chain startup, plans to file a draft red herring prospectus as soon as October for its initial public offering that could raise about $1 billion, according to people with knowledge of the matter. Bloomberg reported that the company, backed by SoftBank Vision Fund and Carlyle Group, is targeting a Mumbai listing before March of next year. The offering could include both new as well as existing shares. The Indian government is set to rapidly promote the adoption of electric vehicles, according to Union Heavy Industries Minister Mahendra Nath Pandey. Speaking at a SIAM event yesterday, Pandey said that the centre is working on establishing charging infrastructure across the country in a bid to promote faster adoption of electric vehicles. In international news, oil rose for a third session after a US government report showed that crude and gasoline inventories fell despite fears that the Delta variant spread would affect demand. Futures in New York advanced 1.2% on Wednesday to the highest in more than a week. Moving on, the latest US intelligence report on the origins of COVID-19 is inconclusive and does not rule out the possibility of a lab leak. That's a conclusion that could further stoke tensions between Washington and Beijing. And in Afghanistan, the Taliban have appointed senior veterans to the posts of finance minister and defense minister, according to two members of the group. This comes as it switches focus from a stunning military conquest to how to run a country in crisis. The movement's unexpectedly swift victory has left it struggling to govern, and alongside established Taliban names at the top, it has turned to several lower-level administrators to keep Kabul running. And with that, it's over to Rohit Singh for the trade setup for the day in India. Morning, Rohit. How are we looking today?
Good morning, Alex. Markets tested fresh highs in trade but ended below 16,700, a level seen crucial to sustain momentum. We will enter the expiry with some bit of caution now. Bulls chose to catch a breath even after a gap-up start and then fresh highs. Banking shares snapped the winning streak, thus denting the bull case. Meanwhile, the broader market managed to hold on to gains after the recent correction. There was selling at institutional level, with DIIs selling shares worth about 150 crore rupees and FIIs selling shares worth about 1,100 crore rupees. It was a record close on the Wall Street as banking shares and bond yield rose ahead of the Jackson Hole gathering. US oil prices were steady after a 3-day rally. Let's tell you about the active stocks this morning. Airtel board will meet on Sunday to consider fundraising options. Aviation Minister has urged states to reduce the VAT on ATF to 1 to 4% in an effort to boost air travel. Cipla has said that it is actively looking at M&A in core markets in US and India. It intends to spend 900 crore rupees in capex over next 2 years. Ujjivan Small Finance Bank has appointed Carol Furtado as officer on special duty. After September 30th, Furtado will take charge as interim CEO, subject to RBI approval. Kotak Bank has said that it is actively seeking inorganic growth opportunities in financial services space. Axis Bank will sell additional Tier 1 bond overseas and look to gather up to $1 billion in ESG compliant instruments. Mukesh Ambani has enlisted 8 global technocrats, many of whom are advisors to governments, as part of a 9-member Energy Council. The government has fixed the fair and remunerative price or FRP of sugarcane, the minimum price that sugar mills have to offer to farmers, marginally higher over the previous year. Watch out for PSU lenders, as the finance minister wants them to take up another loan mela to boost economic growth and revival. To recap, the market is reflecting a certain indecisiveness at these levels, and experts suggest you avoid broader market names till a clearer trend emerges. Unless we break out of the immediate range, chances are we could consolidate at these levels for some more time. That's all from my end. Thank you for listening in. It's back to you, Alex.
Thanks, Rohit. And as always, thank you all for listening in. This is Alex Matthews signing off. Have a great day.
The Rise with India podcast on ET Now.